Community, Carlos Escobar.
So, I really didn't want to have a presentation. I think it's more common that I talk to you personally. And I'm here to defend studying abroad, actually what all of you are doing here at this exact moment. And this story starts like the last 3 times I've been home. For the last 3 times I have been home, it seems that the common norm has been to complain about everything. The government, the economy, the violence, corruption, and of course our national football team. We never qualified to the World Cup. But to complain is to be Salvadorian. So in order to fit in my society, I would complain about everything. However, I recently felt I got slapped in my face after a conversation I had in December with one of my friends. A dear friend of mine told me, right now is the time to be in the country. She told me that a lot of people were returning, young professionals with bright futures in cities like London and New York. I couldn't believe what she was telling me. Despite this social, economic, and political turmoil, people were returning. I met this friend Alejandra, who went to the same university I now go to a short time ago. Ale and I have 2 things in common. I share love for pupusas, our national dish, and for graphic design. I look up to Ale because despite having all the opportunities in the world to not come back to the country, she decided to do so. In December, we decided to go grab a cup of coffee to catch up on life. Do you remember how I was telling you that I would complain about everything to everyone when I was at home? Well, I was complaining to Ale as well. But Ale did not cave into my complaints. She would try to give me a different perspective on life. When I would complain about how bad the economy in the country is, she would tell me if I had heard about initiatives like El Mercadito or the Little Market, which is a non-profit organization that helps local entrepreneurs sell their products at a global scale. When I would complain about the high violence rate and the low education level, she would ask if I had heard what organizations like Global Shapers were doing in the country. There is no doubt that El Salvador needs more people like Alejandra to return home. The country needs better prepared individuals and more educated who have a different mindset. But how do we achieve this? In my opinion, to partially achieve this, El Salvador needs to send a higher proportion of its students to study abroad, whether it is for 3 weeks, 2 semesters, 2 years, or the entire university career. Whenever I'm home, I usually ask myself, how can I convince local philanthropists and the government to invest in study abroad programs like UWC? The question is in my mind for a couple of days until I tell myself, Carlos, don't waste your time. You know what these people are going to tell you. These people will tell me that for the price of one of these scholarships, they can send 200 kids to school or invest in 10 schools. That's right, they're not lying to me. So, I want to ask you, is there any value to what we're doing here? After all, students who go abroad to institutions like UWC in El Salvador don't come back. And for every Alejandra that returns to the country, there are many more who stay abroad and consider themselves lucky to be out of the country. So, instead of spending loads amount of money in sending students to study abroad and won't return the favor by living in El Salvador, shouldn't we spending money for better education for the masses? Now, because I'm standing here at a TEDx at a UWC, you can guess where I stand on this issue. Nonetheless, I do admit that there are some challenges that we have to overcome regarding the way study abroad programs are conceptualized back home. Challenge number 1, the zero-sum fallacy. Investors, philanthropists, and the government at home might think that studying abroad is a zero-sum game. That is to say, when they take into consideration the costs and benefits of sending students abroad, they don't see any returns, they see a big 0. But that's not the case. By using some resources to send students abroad, it has a positive impact on the nation. An impact that is different, not better or worse than other education-oriented efforts. We cannot think of local investment in education to be a substitute of sending students abroad. They are 2 different things, but they're necessary and complementary for a country's development. Study abroad programs in countries like El Salvador are thought to be programs for the elite, the intellectual elite, which usually tends to be also the economic and social elite. However, we must do something about this. We must do something to out this elite and give everyone the same opportunity to study abroad. By giving everyone the same opportunity to study abroad, students will strive to go to win these scholarships. By trying to win these scholarships, they will try getting better grades, and by getting better grades, they'll do a favor to themselves and to the country by getting a stronger education. Challenge number 2, the lack of awareness that there is about the benefits that come along with these study abroad programs. When I try to convince people, especially parents, that they should look into educational programs like UWC, among the reactions I get are, why should I send my kid to this place? They're doing great here. The school is fantastic. They have amazing grades and they're popular. The challenge with these people is that they're not fully aware of all the benefits that come along with this institution and programs. So, in economics, this is something that would be called imperfect information. You may be wondering, what is imperfect information? By imperfect information, I mean that whoever I'm trying to convince that they should invest in foreign educational programs, they are not fully aware of all the private benefits that they receive with these institutions. If they were aware of all these benefits, they would be consuming or demanding more study abroad. This underconsumption of study abroad leads to a lower benefits to individuals, which if we add each lower benefit to all individuals in society, means a big loss for the country. Look, we know better than anyone else the benefits of studying in an institution like UWC. We make long-lasting friendships. We may be living one of the best experiences in our lives. It opens the door to great universities, but most importantly, it opens our minds to new perspectives. But this is a meaningless statement without an example. One of the memories I still remember the most from my time in Flekke is actually in this auditorium at Our World Today. The topic of conversation, abortion. As you may know, abortion is a very controversial topic around the world, given that people have different values, cultures, and religion. So I had decided to stand silent and impartial throughout the entire conversation until someone said, El Salvador is a clear example of a closed-minded society when it comes to abortion. I couldn't believe what this person was saying. I mean, she's right. El Salvador doesn't have very flexible abortion laws. However, I lashed out at her and we started having a heated discussion at World Today, as some of you may know. After the presentation was over, I approached her and I asked her to explain to me why was it that she thought that way about abortion. Once she was done, I gave her my perspective of why abortion laws are not flexible back home. This was a great opportunity for me to learn from her. It wasn't a surprise that she was in favor of abortion, because I had read in some of my social studies books in El Salvador that Nordic people are very liberal. And among the things that some of them favor is abortion. My social studies book could not explain to me why was it that Nordics have this mindset, but this person who I met during my time abroad was able to do so. If it would have not been for this case, I would have not learned that there are certain things that books cannot teach me, but my experiences while I'm abroad will be able to do so. Studying in institutions like UWC or NYU Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates, which is my current university, I would have never changed my opinion in certain things. For instance, if I would still be in El Salvador at this point, I would still see the US-American economic model as the economic model to follow. Or I would still think that all women in the Middle East cannot drive or have to wear sheilas and abayas all the time when that's not the case. When I share this information, I'm not only benefiting myself, I'm helping others to learn about what I have seen, because we have been fortunate and lucky to live these things. I know, it may seem like bragging to many of you, but to be honest, when you share openly and honestly these experiences to your fellow peers at home and around the world, you will multiply the worth of being here. Challenge number 3, the famous brain drain. For those of you who may not know what brain drain is, it is a situation in which people or professionals move from one place to another because they can find a better pay or higher salary. It is indeed common that people move from one place to another because they can find better standards of living, a higher pay, a stable environment. And it is true, people don't come back, especially those coming from countries like El Salvador. But by doing this, we hinder the process of allowing other students to go abroad. Why? Because philanthropists and governments see, well, all the students that we have sent abroad are not coming back. So why should I invest in sending more students abroad? It makes total sense. Why would someone want to give their money or the nation's money to these people who are not doing anything for the country or for them? With that in mind, I want to tell you that the thing is that people in my country, usually philanthropists and the government, tend to like self-interest gratification and results to brag about. They like to publicize the work that they do for the people. But are they really doing it for the people? They just want to increase their popularity and increase their chances of winning the next elections. It is our duty to make these philanthropists and the governments understand that investing in study abroad does not have immediate effects on the country. It takes a while. You cannot expect a student who was scarred by a civil war or by the social injustices of a country to return immediately, because they won't. But in the long run, they will return, because as redundant as it may sound, home will always be home, and we will always want to do something for it. I would be lying to you if I were to say that it has never crossed my mind to not return to El Salvador. Actually, I applied to UWC because I was sick of home. I was frustrated with my teachers, with my swimming coach, and the country situation. I knew that coming to an institution like UWC was going to be life-changing, and it was going to increase my possibility to never return to the country. But that perception has changed. It does fluctuate all the time, because who in their right mind would want to go back to the world's murder capital? It's a sad story, but it's the truth. However, by returning home, I will contribute to the reduction of imperfect information in El Salvador. If we reduce the imperfect information, more people will invest in these programs. And that's something that has a satisfaction. There is indeed a big problem here. And the problem is that there are still many avenues that we have to look for when we have to solve this challenge associated with study abroad. But one thing I'm certain of is that we are part of this solution. By sharing you have the power, a power that not many people in your countries have. The power of sharing a story, the stories of this experience that have changed your life. It's true, if I go back home and advocate for these study abroad programs, I may become a victim of my country's violence. But I have to be honest with you. There are very few things in life that will give me the satisfaction as to see other Salvadorians have the experiences I have had, make the friendships I have made and open as I did, because government officials and philanthropists have seen the benefits of sending students abroad. Thank you.